The USGS, that's the United States Geological Survey, they didn't actually upgrade the threat level for Mount St. Helens. What's really unsettling is they just reaffirmed it. Back in 2018, they put out an update to their National Volcanic Threat Assessment, the first one since 2005. And after 13 years of new science, new models, and all sorts of new data from Earth's most intensely watched volcano, its rank hadn't changed. It's still number 2. That's the second most threatening volcano in the US out of 161 active systems. Its threat score is 258. That sounds like just a number, but it's for something absolutely catastrophic. Then, in June of 2023, the USGS did something else. They released a new report. It's called Scientific Investigations Report 2023-5011. And this report had new maps. These maps were drawn with frightening clarity thanks to lasers and supercomputers. When these new lines were put over southwestern Washington, they covered nearly 80,000 people. They covered over 46,000 jobs. They covered 28 schools. See, what the new science tells us isn't that the volcano has gotten more dangerous. It's that we just didn't understand the danger fully before. And the biggest threat to those 80,000 people isn't fire from the sky. It's not a blast. It's the river. Okay, before we get deep into today's video, I gotta give you a quick heads up. And don't worry, this is the only time I'll bring it up until the end. I actually put together a complete 42-page guide I called the Self-Sufficient Garden Blueprint. It's got everything I've picked up from the old-timers, the Amish, those Japanese master gardeners, and honestly, my grandma. She could grow a tomato in a parking lot if she had to. When we're talking about how a mountain can mess up your whole world, cutting off supply lines and emptying grocery stores, the idea of being self-sufficient goes from being a little hobby to something you really need. So if you're watching this on your TV right now, just grab your phone, open the camera app, and point it at the QR code on your screen. Yep, it's that easy. And if you can't figure out the QR code, that's what grandkids are for, right? If you're on your phone or laptop, the link is the very first thing pinned in the comments below. You can't miss it. And it's also at the top of the description. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to the video, because what the science is showing us will totally change how you think about that beautiful, peaceful mountain forever. Geologists have a name for the killer that lives near Mount St. Helens. They've been trying to explain it to people for decades. The word is lahar. It's an Indonesian word, because that's where so many people have learned about it the hard way. It's not just water. It's not just mud. It's a slurry. A mix of rock, volcanic debris, and water that feels like wet concrete, but it doesn't move like concrete. It moves at the speed of a freight train. It can be boiling hot. It can strip the landscape right down to bedrock, carrying boulders the size of houses, ripping bridges off their foundations, and burying whole towns under a thick, gray blanket that hardens like stone. And those new maps from 2023 show the path of this killer incredibly precisely. In a worst-case scenario, a big lahar coming off Mount St. Helens would hit the Interstate 5 corridor by the Toutle River in just 40 to 60 minutes. 1 hour. 1 hour for a river of hot liquid cement to travel from the volcano's side to the main commerce highway on the west coast. Within 2 to 3 hours, that same flow would reach the towns of Kelso and Longview. In 3 hours, it would pour into the huge Columbia River itself, possibly blocking the shipping channel that's vital for the whole Pacific Northwest. This isn't just a guess. It's a simulation, and it's possible because of technology that didn't even exist when the older hazard maps were made in the 1990s. High-resolution LiDAR, which is light detection and ranging, has given scientists a digital model of the ground even under the trees, accurate to within inches. They can see the exact shape of the crater from the 1980 eruption. They can see the precise curves of the Toutle, Cowlitz, and Lewis River valleys, which are the channels that'll guide the next lahar. With this new, chillingly accurate information about the land, they can run simulations on supercomputers that model debris flow with a level of detail that used to be science fiction. That's what Report 2023-5011 is all about. It's not a guess, it's basically a disaster playbook written in the language of physics. John Major, a research hydrologist with the USGS and a lead author on that report, put it really clearly. He said, "We've got a better understanding of the kinds of things an eruption can do and which places would be affected." The science just got better, the picture got clearer, and people who thought they lived far enough away just found out they're in the path. To understand what's next for Mount St. Helens, you've got to get its two sides. The world knows one face. May 18th, 1980. At 8:32 in the morning, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake hit the mountain's north face, where this massive bulge had been growing for weeks, and it just collapsed. It was the biggest landslide ever recorded in human history. Almost 3/4 of a cubic mile of rock, ice, and earth suddenly broke loose. It's so huge, it's hard to wrap your head around. This collapse, a sector collapse, was like uncorking a champagne bottle that had been shaken for months. It instantly depressurized the superheated, gas-filled magma chamber inside the volcano. What happened next was a lateral blast, a sideways explosion that shot northward at over 300 miles per hour. The pyroclastic flow, a hurricane of ash, rock, and gas heated to 680 degrees Fahrenheit, just wiped out 230 square miles of old-growth forest. It knocked over huge fir trees like matchsticks. It sterilized the soil. It boiled lakes dry. Within 15 minutes, the eruption column had shot up over 80,000 feet, more than 15 miles into the sky. It was epic, biblical even. It took 1,314 feet off the mountain's summit and left a huge 1.2-mile-wide horseshoe-shaped crater. 57 people died. That's the side of Mount St. Helens everyone remembers. Violent, explosive, apocalyptic. But the mountain has another side, a quieter, sneakier one. In the fall of 2004, the volcano stirred again. Small earthquake swarms started deep under the 1980 crater. The ground inside the crater began to swell, but there wasn't a huge bulge, no massive explosion. Instead, something new happened. On October 11, 2004, thick, gooey lava, like really pasty toothpaste, started pushing out of a vent on the crater floor. It was an effusive eruption, not explosive at all. For the next 4 years, until January of 2008, the volcano just quietly, relentlessly built a new mountain inside the old scar. This lava dome grew at an average rate of 1 to 2 cubic meters per second. That's like a dump truck's worth of new rock, every few seconds for 4 years straight. Day after day, a steaming, rough spine of dacite lava pushed its way up, eventually getting taller than the Empire State Building. It kicked up some minor steam and ash explosions, which were super cool for volcanologists, but no real threat to anyone outside the immediate crater. By the time it was done, over 125 million cubic yards of new rock filled the crater's amphitheater. The 2004 to 2008 eruption was a big reminder. The magma system under Mount St. Helens isn't dead. It's alive and it's refilling. It showed the world the volcano's second face. Not the face of sudden anger, but of slow, steady, unstoppable growth. The next eruption isn't guaranteed to be another 1980. It could be a slow, dome-building thing. Or it could be something totally different. The mountain has different personalities, and we don't get to choose which one shows up next. Hey, really quick, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I want to tell you something. Everything I'm sharing today about huge natural forces and how fragile our systems are, that's just one part of it. The other part is about making yourself more resilient, more independent. That's exactly what my full self-sufficient garden blueprint is all about. The whole thing is 42 pages, 10 complete systems, and 2 bonus chapters that honestly I almost didn't include because they're that good. Here's a taste of what's inside that we didn't even touch on today. The 4,000-year-old Persian self-watering trick that cuts your water bill by 70%. No, that's not a typo, and it's huge when the regular setup is messed up. The unlimited fertilizer system using stuff you literally have in your yard right now, because you won't be able to just run to the store. The Three Sisters method that got my friend Robert in Tennessee his best corn harvest in 40 years. And Robert, let's just say, has very strong feelings about corn. The medicine garden chapter where you learn to grow $500 worth of remedies from a tiny 9-square-foot herb spiral. And 5 secret things master gardeners never put on YouTube, including one with aspirin water that sounds totally fake until you try it. Now listen, normally this would be $97. But while we're launching, it's $17. That's less than a bag of fertilizer at Home Depot, less than a bad airport coffee. And it's got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't love it, you get every penny back. No hassle, no weird questions, no wasting your time. We're adults. If you're on TV, grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen. It's the big one, you can't miss it. If you're on your phone or laptop, first link in the description, also pinned in the comments. Super easy. All right, back to the good stuff. The massive landslide of 1980 didn't just kick off an eruption, it created a second, ticking time bomb just north of the crater. When that almost 3/4 of a cubic mile of mountain collapsed, a big chunk of it slammed right into Spirit Lake. The debris avalanche instantly raised the lake bed by 200 feet. It pushed the water, sending an 850-foot-tall mega tsunami crashing into the surrounding ridges. And crucially, it blocked the lake's natural outlet to the North Fork Toutle River. Suddenly, Spirit Lake, now bigger and holding more water than before, had no way to drain. It started to rise. Scientists and engineers from the Army Corps of Engineers and the USGS realized they were looking at a new, possibly even bigger disaster. If the lake got high enough to go over the debris dam, the dam itself, which was just a loose, unconsolidated pile of rock, ash, and volcanic rubble, could erode quickly and fail. If that Spirit Lake debris dam failed, it would release an enormous flood, a breakout lahar, much bigger and more destructive than anything the volcano could produce directly. It would have sent a wall of water and debris rushing down the Toutle River Valley, wiping out everything in its path, including towns that had survived the initial eruption. It was a race against time. The first fix was to pump water out of the lake. A desperate, expensive measure that could barely keep up with the rain and snowmelt. A permanent solution was needed, so they decided to do something really audacious. They decided to dig a tunnel, right through a mountain. The Spirit Lake Drainage Tunnel is one of those unsung wonders of modern engineering, done right in the face of natural disaster. The project kicked off in 1984. Engineers had to drill a tunnel 11 feet wide and 1.6 miles long, directly through a solid rock ridge west of the lake. They had to work in one of the most dangerous and unstable places on Earth, constantly aware that the volcano could wake up any minute. The work finished in 1985. Ever since that day, this tunnel has acted as the lake's artificial drain, keeping the water level stable and safe and stopping the fragile debris dam from being overtopped. It's like a silent guardian, a real testament to human cleverness. But it's also a constant reminder of all the domino effects from one volcanic event. The eruption lasted hours. The secondary threat from the dammed lake will stick around for centuries, needing constant checking and upkeep. We didn't beat the mountain. We just worked out a temporary peace treaty with one of its many problems. The tunnel is our insurance against a secondary disaster, but it does absolutely nothing about the main threat that's still brewing deep under the crater. You know, there's a common misunderstanding about volcanoes like Mount St. Helens, especially the word overdue. Scientists really try to avoid using that. Volcanoes don't operate on our schedule. They're not like trains running late. Mount St. Helens has been the most active volcano in the Cascade Range over the last 10,000 years. But that doesn't tell us when it's going to go off next week or next decade. Its next eruption could be tomorrow, or it could be when our great-grandchildren are old. So what's the volcano up to right now? The Cascades Volcano Observatory, that's the USGS branch in Vancouver, Washington, tasked with watching the mountain, gives updates constantly. And their answer is both reassuring and, honestly, pretty unsettling. The volcano is recharging. Deep underground, between 3 and 5 miles down, small earthquakes happen every day. We're talking a baseline of 20 to 40 tiny tremors a week. You can't feel these on the surface. They're just the subtle pops and groans of a system that's slowly, quietly getting fed new magma from the Earth's mantle. Seth Moran, who used to be the scientist in charge at the CVO, explained it like this: magma is slowly, quietly recharging. This isn't a sign that an eruption is about to happen. This process of refilling the deep storage reservoir can go on for decades without anything happening on the surface. It's just what an active, living volcano does. What scientists are really looking for is a change, something different from the normal background noise. Before a big eruption, they'd expect to see really clear, undeniable signs that magma is moving from that deep storage area up towards the surface. The number and strength of earthquakes would jump dramatically, going from dozens a week to hundreds or even thousands a day. Those earthquakes would also get shallower, tracing the magma's climb. The ground itself would start to swell and change shape as the rising magma pushes it up. Instruments like GPS stations and tilt meters placed all over the volcano would pick up this movement with incredible precision. And the gases coming out of the crater, chemicals like sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, would change what they're made of and how much of them there is, giving scientists a direct clue that new magma is coming closer to the surface. These signs would probably give us weeks or even months of warning before a significant eruption. We don't have any of those signals today. As of right now, the volcano's official alert level is normal. The aviation color code is green. It's just doing its normal, non-eruptive thing. But the fact that we can watch it so closely that we know it's recharging is kind of a double-edged sword. We know what's going on. We can see the engine idling. We just have no idea when the driver is going to decide to put it in gear. Let's go back to that number. 80,000. 80,000 people living and working in these new flood zones on the map. It just sounds like a number until you put a face to it. Imagine a family in Castle Rock, Washington. They live in a nice neighborhood, the kids play in a park near the Cowlitz River. On a clear day, they might even see the plume of steam from the distant, pretty mountain. They're not volcanologists. They're not reading USGS reports. For them, the river is a place to fish in the summer, for peaceful walks in the fall. The idea that this same river could become a pathway for a 300-degree, 60-mile-per-hour slurry of rock and mud is almost impossible to think about. The warning systems, like the all hazards alert broadcast sirens, are supposed to give them time. But what is time, really? If the lahar hits I-5 in 60 minutes, the warning would have to go out almost the second the event starts. Evacuation routes would get totally jammed with traffic. Panic is something no computer model can really account for. The 28 schools in the hazard zone have evacuation plans, sure, but how do you get thousands of kids out in minutes and reunite them with parents who might be at one of the 46,000 jobs also in that same zone? Carolyn Dreger, a hydrologist and an outreach coordinator with the Cascades Volcano Observatory, she spent her whole career trying to connect what scientists know with what the public understands. Her words really hit home after all that work. She said, "It's not just the eruption. You can have a big lahar without an eruption." This is a huge point. A hydrothermally altered side of the volcano could just collapse from a big earthquake or even just from gravity, mixing with snow and ice to make a huge lahar without any new magma coming to the surface. The volcano doesn't actually have to erupt to kill people. Dreger's advice is simple and sobering. Even in the quiet time, it's good for people to be aware of the rivers that they play in, work in, and live near, and have a plan to get to high ground. Get to high ground. It's the oldest, most basic survival instruction. But in today's world, high ground isn't always obvious. You have to plan for it. You have to practice it. The 2023 hazard assessment isn't a death sentence for these communities. It's a gift. A difficult, scary gift. It's a map that shows exactly where the danger will go. It gives emergency managers, city planners, and every single resident the info they need to make a real plan to survive. The question is whether they'll actually use that gift before it's too late. The mountain is quiet today. The rivers are clear. It's the perfect time to get ready for the day they're not, because that day will come. The volcano itself is like a baby, geologically speaking. The entire visible part of Mount St. Helens is actually younger than the Great Pyramids of Giza. It only started forming about 2,200 years ago, built on top of older, collapsed cones. Its youth is a big reason it's so volatile. Young volcanoes are often more active, more likely to have frequent and different kinds of eruptions. It sits in a weird spot tectonically, getting squeezed from east to west, unlike most other Cascade volcanoes that get squeezed north to south. This unique stress might affect everything from its magma chemistry to why it explodes so violently. It's a geological oddity, a puzzle scientists are still figuring out. And the remnants of its last big violent act are still changing the world around it. On Spirit Lake, there's still a huge 4-square-mile mat of logs, trees ripped from the earth by the 1980 blast, floating on the surface. It's a floating ecosystem, a forest graveyard that's become a unique science lab, a visible physical scar from space. And deep inside the 1980 eruption cloud, something else strange happened. Volcanic lightning. All the friction between billions of tiny, sharp ash particles created massive static electricity, causing thousands of lightning strikes inside the churning gray cloud. The eruption made its own weather, its own terrifying electrical storm. These are just some details of a system so powerful it messes with the very laws of weather and ecology around it. It's not just a mountain, it's a geological engine with immense complexity and power. And every single one of those 20 to 40 small earthquakes that happen under it each week is a reminder that the engine is on. The things that led to May 18, 1980 haven't stopped. The slow gathering of magma, the pressure building deep down, the quiet work of geothermal heat and acidic gases weakening the rock from inside, it's all still happening. The new lava dome that grew from 2004 to 2008 sits inside the crater like a cork in a bottle, a plug of hardened rock sealing the pathway. But under that plug, the pressure is slowly, unstoppably building again. Just let those numbers sink in. A threat score of 258. It's number 2 on the very high threat list. 80,000 people in these newly mapped hazard zones, 28 schools, 40 to 60 minutes for a lahar to get to Interstate 5. 1.2 miles wide, that's how big the crater was after 1980. 125 million cubic yards of new rock put in that crater between 2004 and 2008. 3 to 5 miles, that's how deep the magma chamber is that's refilling right now. 57 people died in the last big event. One mountain, with 2 completely different ways it can destroy things. How many of the 80,000 people living downriver in Castle Rock, in Kelso, in Longview have actually walked the evacuation route from their house to high ground? How many of the kids in those 28 schools know that the pretty river near their playground could one day become the biggest threat to their lives? How many residents get that the next event might not be some dramatic Hollywood explosion, but a silent collapse in the middle of a rainy winter night? Deep under the 2008 lava dome, in the darkness 3 miles below the crater floor, new magma is still coming. The chamber is still filling. The mountain is still breathing. All right, friend, before you click away, let me ask you something honest. Are you sick of grocery prices getting higher every time you go to the store? Are you tired of feeling exposed to things you can't control, whether it's a messed up supply chain or a natural disaster like the one we just talked about? Are you tired of every gardening expert online trying to sell you fertilizer, gadgets, special soil, and some $400 raised bed kit when your grandma fed 7 kids on a quarter acre with none of that junk? Yeah, me too. That's exactly why I put together the Self-Sufficient Garden Blueprint. It's not just another fluffy ebook, not some mindset guide. It's a real 42-page system that actually gives you back control. It walks you step by step through everything, bringing soil back to life, free fertilizer, free seeds, free water systems, old techniques the industry forgot, and the secret stuff master gardeners never talk about. Plus, there's the medicine garden chapter, which I'm telling you, saved one of our readers, Patricia from Ohio, over $200 a year on supplements. Her words, not mine. The whole thing is yours for $17. One time, no subscription, you own it forever. And if you don't love it within 30 days, just send me an email and I'll refund every single penny. No questions, no awkward conversation, no, wait, can you tell me why? Just a refund. I trust you, you trust me. We just move on. We're adults. Here's how you can grab it right now. If you're watching on your big TV in the living room, pull out your phone, open the camera, point it at the QR code on your screen. That's it. Scan, tap, and you're on the page. If you're watching on your phone or laptop, look in the description below this video or tap the pinned comment at the top. The link is right there. You literally cannot miss it. I made sure of that. Or just type this into your browser, greenhavenvault.shop. Easy to remember. 3 words. Once you're there, click Get Instant Access. It takes about 60 seconds and the blueprint will be in your email before you finish your coffee. And here's my advice. Start with Chapter 1, the 30-second dead soil fix. Try it this weekend. In 30 days, your soil will be totally different. From there, just go through the chapters at your own pace. No pressure, no ticking clocks, no fake urgency. Just an honest offer from one person looking for resilience to another. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Now go get your blueprint and I'll see you in the next video.